Hey guys, wanted to make this video to remember a very close friend of mine who passed away just a few weeks ago on November 30th. His name was Keith Harley Amerson, and he was a musician and a super talented, creative, smart friend who I got to know very well um, over the past 20 years. And I was a pallbearer at his wedding, at his funeral, not his wedding. Um, I tried to make this video earlier, and it just ran on, and it got really long. And I don't want to make a super long video. I just want to do something very quick and just remember him because no one else is going to do this. I don't think. Um, But Harley, I first knew of in high school when I was a senior in high school. There was a bunch of us guys who were musicians picking up guitars and drums and basses, and we were listening to a lot of music and just really influenced by what we were listening to. The grunge scene was going on. This was the mid-90s. Um, Kurt Cobain had already uh, passed away, but we were heavily influenced by what the grunge scene did and alternative music and so forth. And so there were a few small bands that we formed um, in high school. I was in a band called the Frosties. There was a band called Vent, um, and Harley had a little band called Messengers of the Damned, I believe. They were really, really alternative, really avant-garde, just really into some experimental stuff. But that's what we were all doing. We were buying little 4-track recorders and recording on cassette tapes and putting out these DIY compilations, really fun stuff. And so I knew who Harley was. I kind of knew of him. And fast forward to 1999, I ran into an old childhood friend who had picked up the guitar and was playing, and we were both into heavy music, um, bands like Korn and the Deftones and Tool and all that stuff that was going on in the late 90s. And we decided we wanted to form a band, and I rented a little storage building out on the highway, and just down the highway a little bit was a gas station. There was a subway connected to it, and Harley was working in that subway, and we would often go to that subway to get food, get a sandwich before practice or after practice or during practice or whatever. And we needed a bass player. This band kind of formed very gradual. It started out me, my childhood friend, as the two guitarists. We had a drummer, and then about a month or so, 2 months later, we found a guy to sing and do a little heavy vocals, not really screaming, but he could get pretty loud if needed, and he could also do the Chino Marino type, Deftone type vocals as well. And we were about 4 or 5 months into this band. We had some songs. We were sounding pretty good. We were getting really tight. We needed a bass player. We needed that bottom end. We wanted to do shows. And I knew Harley played bass. I'd seen him around in other band incarnations with other people that I kind of knew, and always very alternative, very experimental, avant-garde, weird stuff. And we thought about asking him to come play, but I was like, guys, I don't know if he'd be into it. He's really alternative and really I don't think he'd be into it. But we asked him anyway. We put it out there, and he very nonchalantly was like, oh, yeah, cool, yeah, I'll come check it out. Yeah, we can do that. And he came, and it just clicked. It just clicked right away. And so he became our bass player, and we just got super tight as a band. um, and having a lot of fun at practice. And we had some beers, liquor. We had a good time in that band, playing shows and meeting other bands out in the surrounding area. And I could go on and on and on about all the stories that that happened just in that year. Harley eventually kind of his personal life took him other directions, and I just think he was going musically in another direction as well. So he did eventually leave the band. Halloween night of 1999 was his last show, and we stayed in touch. We stayed very close. He eventually became my roommate. We had a trailer out in the country. He needed a place to live. I needed a roommate, and he came, and we had some great times out there as well. He was a little more. I was very OCD about keeping the place clean and neat, and he didn't really think about that type of thing. That didn't bother him. So I got very aggravated with him at times, but it was very I'm very easygoing, and just I would clean up, and he sometimes left his mess out in the kitchen or whatever. And then we left there, and I got a house, and I had several people come and stay with me in that house, and Harley needed a place to live, and I'm not gonna lie, I was very hesitant about getting Harley back as a roommate. Wasn't sure to be honest, if I wanted him to be my roommate again. But eventually I caved in. I said, okay, man, come on. And had a lot of great times out there as well. And he helped me out in so many ways. And we always were writing music and recording music, and just became really close. He knew so much about me, and I knew so much about him. And he was an amazing writer, and that just knowing him influenced me in becoming a writer, as far as like writing books. Like, he was really into that. And we eventually he left that house for his own personal life once again, taking him in other directions. And I moved to California, and that was it. I don't know, it wasn't like a bad thing the way we left, but it was just kind of like, once again, I was kind of like, I don't know if I ever want to do this again. And so I was out in California for like 6 years, and there were times and seasons where I would talk to him on the phone, through emails and such, and you talk about old times, hanging out, doing the band thing, and so forth. And I wrote several books, I guess you could say. I never got published or anything, but I wrote, and I wrote a lot. And it was because I knew Harley, and like I said, just that, because he was such a big writer, it influenced me. It was like osmosis or something. Like, I suddenly knew how to write. Like, I don't know. And then, I eventually moved back to where I'm living now, and he ended up in Charlotte, North Carolina. He was there, and we would text occasionally, but I knew while I was gone, he had had some very dark seasons, and there were stories out there about how he got to where he was at the time in Charlotte. And there was a last year there was an Iron Maiden concert, and I bought tickets for it, and I wanted to take someone. I didn't want to go by myself, but it was, Iron Maiden. Like, who? I didn't know anyone that would love or did love Iron Maiden as much as I did. But I knew that Harley would really appreciate going to a concert, and I knew Harley loved music enough, and that there were aspects of Iron Maiden that he enjoyed, you know, because he loved all genres of music. And so I took him, and when I came to pick him up, I I recognized him, but it was like, wow. I was like, what happened? Like, he had gained a lot of weight, unfortunately, like a lot of weight. And um, but as soon as I got out of the car, and and we came over to each other and we started talking, it was just kind of like, hey, how's it going, type of thing. And so we hung out that day, and we met up with an old friend as well from those late '90s, early 2000s days of hanging out, and we just had a great time. And I ended up taking Harley to another concert, Paris, the band Paris, and the band Lights, who I was really into. I still really am into. Paris is like my favorite band right now of all time. Um, I love them, and so I bought tickets, and I was like, "Hey, you want to go to the show?" And I thought that he would really enjoy the sound, because it is a little more alternative, a little less heavy, real different sounding. And so I took him, and Harley, because of his weight gain, he did have some trouble getting around. He did have to sit down more often, but I know that he had a really good time and really enjoyed it. And Harley was always the type to send cards. He loved to actually write down something and send it in the mail. No, when it was, and so he would occasionally, like Christmas and birthdays, he would send cards in the mail. And I thought, man, I need to do that. I need to do the same thing. I need to do that in return. And I don't think I ever got around to it, unfortunately. I would just text him and say, thank you. Hey, I got your card. That was so awesome. I really appreciate it. And say the same thing that he said in the card through a text. And over this past year, well, I actually brought him to Hartsville to hang out for a few days, and he met up with another friend down here that he had become close with through just the internet, talking online, talking on the phone, and so forth. Harley didn't have a car up in Charlotte. He had everything he needed where he was living. He took public transportation. He always told me he was trying to get eat healthier, get better, and everything. And I you just hope and pray that that's the truth. And so I did bring him down to Hartsville once, and he actually came to church with me, and then over this past year, I wanted to get up there to see him again, to go to a show or get lunch or something, but just never did. There was just never. I just never made the time. But I started mailing him CDs. I wanted to get rid of CDs and DVDs and so forth. I was minimalizing my life and getting rid of things that I didn't need. And I was selling some stuff on eBay, but I just couldn't see myself like who buys CDs and DVDs nowadays like they did 20 years ago. So you can't, I didn't see myself, I couldn't sell these items online on eBay for a lot of money. So I was like, I will mail them to Harley. And because there are a lot of them that I had left over, I knew that he would really enjoy. And so I began sending him packages once a month full of CDs and DVDs. And then, you get the call that he's gone. And it took a while for that to sink in. So, yeah, I just wanted to make a video basically and just put that out there and remember him. I could go on and on and on for days, for weeks, for maybe months about all the stories and all the memories that I have of him. But I wanted to keep this short. So thank you for listening. Thank you for remembering my close friend Harley with me. Until next time, stay awesome.